Welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun. As you might have guessed, this podcast is dedicated to kindness. Kindness is a superpower that each and every one of us possesses, a force that is strong enough to drastically impact your life and the lives of those around you for the better. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about kindness, and let's talk about how each and every one of us can use kindness to change the world. Hello and welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. I am your host, Mike Rathbun, and today we're talking about kindness with somebody that knows a great deal about it and practices it daily. Her name is Erin Mann, and she is the owner of Erin's Elderberries. Welcome to the show, Erin.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for having me today.
That's my pleasure. So this is a great story, but as Julie Andrews would say in The Sound of Music, let's start at the very beginning. Why in the world did you, or what prompted you to look into elderberry syrup?
Yeah, so in 2015, I became a mom for the first time. And I know, big class. So he, on his 1-year birthday, fell very ill. We were actually in the hospital for his 1-year birthday, and they thought he had leukemia. All of the test results and his blood work was showing that he was like 99th percentile for having leukemia. And
oh my goodness.
on that, at that time, that was granted 6 years ago, so I don't know if the protocols are the same, but at that time, the treatment for a child under 365 days of age was completely different than a child who had hit their first birthday. So when they brought us in, it was very fast. We had to make a decision very quickly because they said if we find out that he has this, we only have a matter of hours to diagnose to where he can be put on the younger treatment because it was more likelihood of success. It wasn't as hard on the body. It was just his first birthday was a whirlwind. As a
oh my
mom,
gosh, what a horrible way to spend.
It was so bad. I mean, as a mom, you look forward to that first birthday, right? Like
Sure.
The smash cake, the family, just that's a big milestone. And for us, it was anything but. We were terrified and scared. He ended up not having leukemia. He was in that 1% that it was a really bad virus that mimicked leukemia in the blood. So he was still very, very unhealthy, and his immune system was just wrecked. After that, he kept getting sick, and cold after cold. He would catch the flu so very easily. He just stayed sick no matter what time of year it was or who he was around. And we were at the time, when he was about a year and 8 months, going to 3 different specialists. He was on 4 different medications a day that children under 6 were not supposed to be prescribed. But he was at less than 2. And we finally got to a point. I asked one of his doctors, I said, how can I help my child? I became a stay-at-home mom. I'm very good at research. What can I do? That this child is my baby. He is my job. I will go to the end of the earth for this child.
As any parent would, right?
Exactly. And he looked at me and he said, there's nothing we can do. We just have to wait it out. And for some reason, that was just, what lit a spark. My mom was like, you've always been raised, you can't tell you no, because if I tell you can't do something, you will find a way to do it.
Right.
So I guess it's that negative reinforcement or something, but I don't like being told like I can't do something. And I took my son home for a nap, started researching and kind of weeding through medical journals and peer-reviewed studies. And anytime I was keyword searching health or immunity or growing the immune system, making lungs healthier, because in my thought was the lungs are a muscle. Muscles, if they're weak, can be made stronger. But yet a doctor is telling me I can't make his lungs stronger. That was kind of that common sense of, I'm not a doctor, but what I've been taught throughout the years was it's a muscle, we can work on it. So everything I found just kept going back to elderberry and how it has been used. It was gaining popularity, and it has a lot of medical studies backing it and showing its effects. So I decided to try it.
Wow. I mean, I've heard about elderberry. I've never used it myself, but I mean, it's fairly well known as an immunity booster. Is that what
Yeah.
it basically is? Elderberry syrup? Is that it's an immunity booster?
Yeah, so it can work to strengthen the immune system. It's packed with polyphenols and antioxidants, and the main polyphenol that it's known for, or that lies within it, is basically a viral and bacterial prohibitor. So when you get sick, if you ingest a bacteria or a little virus, it takes root inside of a cell, and those cells start to replicate. What those polyphenols work to do is to stop that replication, to keep that bacteria, that virus from taking root and being able to replicate. So you may feel a little sick because it's, kind of already got a little bit of a hold on you, but it'll keep it from replicating and help you get better faster because you're not as sick. So that's how it works to boost and build your immune system, is it's helping your body fight it naturally rather than just killing it off per se, if that makes sense. And then it's also a fantastic anti-inflammatory, which people don't realize. So the inflammation that sickness can cause, it will help take that down and help your body be able to fight it itself.
So for an old guy like me who has problems with his knees, that could probably
Oh,
help.
yeah. Very much so. It's fantastic. My mom has rheumatoid arthritis, and she's off of her prescription meds because of it. Any kind of inflammation within the body, arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, digestive diseases that cause inflammation. For example, I have ulcerative colitis, the sister disease to Crohn's. I'm not on any maintenance medication at all because my C-reactive proteins are within normal levels. All thanks to elderberry. It's a fantastic and a amazing little thing.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, I knew it was good and I knew it helped with immunity, but I had no idea. So it's not just building up immunity. I mean, you could take it after you're already sick and it will help you recover faster. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes, the studies have shown that if you start taking it within 3 days of the onset of a cold or flu, your recuperation time decreases by 50% or more, and your
Wow.
symptoms are less severe, which is fantastic for populations like children or the elderly, where they're more likely to suffer, worse symptoms and end up in the hospital. That rarely ever happens if they're on elderberry.
I'm thinking if I had a daycare center, I might just like give each kid a shot as they come in the door every day.
Really should. I mean, it couldn't hurt.
I mean, because that's the thing with kids, right? Once you have kids, and I mean, your son, that was an exception, but I mean, once they go out into the world in general, they start going to daycare or school, invariably, they are bringing something home.
Oh yeah, they're little just germ piles basically when when
Just
they
little
get back.
petri dishes with backpacks and legs.
Yes, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny that you mentioned like daycares and little kids, because when I started using elderberry for my son, I only knew, or really only focused on that immune boosting. In
Mhm.
fact, I didn't focus on what else it was known for. I found out about the anti-inflammatory once I went back to my doctor, my gastroenterologist. But then I also found out when we were in the potty training phase that elderberry is fantastic to help you maintain, a healthy
A
bowel
healthy
movement.
colon, a healthy.
Yeah. So it
Wow.
helps kids that like to not, to kind of hold it. It kind of won't let them. It kind of keeps them regular. For the elderly, they're on like pain medication that kind of helps stops things up a little bit. It actually helps keep them regular. So it's, in daycares, that would help too, for sure.
Wow. Yeah, there's so many benefits to the daycare
There,
system in
yeah.
this country. That's amazing. So you found out about this and you thought, I'm going to make some up.
Yeah, I
And what
did.
happened?
My kid hated it. um, I had we're a German family, so I had my dad dig out my grandmother's like old recipe, because my dad didn't actually ever go to a doctor until he was 20 years of age. They were farmers, they were very poor. And he was like, you basically got better or you didn't.
Right.
So they used a lot of natural, kind of things. So he dug that out for me. My son absolutely hated it. He like ran away. And so I started the research even more of how do I make it delicious for a child, but still beneficial without adding like, cane sugar or high fructose corn syrup or anything bad. And that's
Right.
when I decided, I was working on sweetening with honey, but then balancing it with some other healthy herbs like Ceylon cinnamon and some clove to give it a good taste for a child. And that's when he really started liking it. And after 7 days of taking it, he started calling it his yummy syrup. He said, "Mommy, I want my yummy syrup." And that's why now yummy syrup is on our label for Erin's Elderberries. We kind of just named it after him.
That's fantastic. And so you saw immediate results, or was it more of a gradual thing? Did he just start then getting less sick?
Yeah, so it took about 3 months for us to really notice a difference. And by month 6, we were being released from all of his allergists and all of his specialists. And we didn't have a cold or flu, after, knock on wood. I don't want to jinx myself, but we have been a healthy family since.
Wow. So what was the impetus for making like large batches of this? I mean, did your friends and family go, "Hey, I noticed your son's less sick. What are you doing?"
So family, no. My dad was even like, "What's that witchy stuff you're making over there?" As I'm like stirring my big pots with all my herbs,
Bubble,
in it.
bubble, toilet.
Yeah. No, it's one of those, let's start from the beginning, but Cliff Notes version is I joined a MOPS group. Well, it's called Mothers of Preschoolers after my son was born, because I retired from the Bureau and didn't really have a lot of women friends. They were all my FBI friends that didn't have families. And, it's a lot different when you're not in that lifestyle anymore. So I was
Right.
like, where do I go to make friends now that I have a child and I'm home all day? So I actually met another mom on a playground, and she invited me to this MOPS group. And I started, going there and kind of sharing my experiences. And one of the moms said, "You know what, Erin, what is really needed in this area is a Facebook group for moms to feel safe, that they can not be judged, that they can share things, ask questions, because people knew I was on the healthy side, but they'll also know that I eat a Snickers for breakfast. So I'm in the non-judgy type of thing. I say everything in
Right.
moderation, right? So I ended up creating this Facebook group for all of our local moms to join if they wanted. And I started posting like health tips or did you knows or, hey, ask questions and I can teach you how to research, the answer for that. And that is what kind of led into this, because I started sharing about our elderberry journey. And I said, hey, if anybody wants to try it, let me make you some and come pick it up from my house or come, to MOPS and try it. And after about a week of doing that, I was getting text messages from people I didn't know, emails from people I didn't know, and they're like, "We heard you're the elderberry lady, and it's amazing for kids." And that's kind of what propelled me to start the business. Was everyone was saying, "My kids hate elderberry. I can't get them to take it. I know how good it is for them, but we hear that you make one just for kids that kids love." And I said, I must be kind of good at this. Let me share this with those that want me to share it. So I started the process and got licensed and inspected, and Erin's Elderberries was born.
Did you ever in your wildest dreams think that you would be known as the elderberry lady?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. So yeah, around here they call me Elderberry Lady, Miss Elderberry, which I love now. At first I found it kind of odd, but now it's very endearing, and I appreciate that, very much. But no, if someone would have told me 10 years ago when I was in another country working, on counterterrorism and counterintelligence missions for our country, that I would be manufacturing elderberry syrup and shipping it worldwide, I would laugh in their face and just be like, you have no clue what you're talking about, and run away from them as fast as possible.
For sure. Okay, side note, and I'm probably regressing here, but is it your experience at the FBI that made you such a good researcher? Do you
No,
think?
I think my innate ability to do research is what made me great at my job in the Bureau. So, because
Okay.
I grew up loving to write and do research projects. I was always the kid that made the A plus on her research projects. And, I got my master's while I was waiting for the Bureau to hire me. So, and that is all research and writing.
Oh, sure.
Um, so do I think it honed my skills because I had in the Bureau, you have to learn to write a certain way for different reporting? Yes, it definitely honed my skills. But I think that I was really, really good at it to begin with. And that's what made me good at my job, in the Bureau.
Wow. That's fantastic. I'm sorry, I had completely
Oh, it's
forgotten
okay.
that you'd been in the bureau. So when you mentioned that, I kind of left for a minute. So you've got Erin's Elderberries. You're now a business owner.
Yeah.
And now, do you guys have a brick and mortar store?
Yes, we do now. So the first 3 years, it was just me, or actually for the first 2 years, it was just me. Then I took on like an assistant, a kind of a director of operations that helped me label bottles and pack up for farmers markets and kind of do those things. And then I started hiring other girls to work with me at the markets. And that's kind of how our retail store was born because I went to all of these events, met all these awesome small business owners that typically have created their business for the same reason I did. They wanted to help someone in their family, found out they were amazing at it, or they were doing something unique with it, or the way that they were doing it. And they started their business from it. And I just thought that that was amazing. And I love to hear their stories. And I thought, if I ever get to open a little retail shop, I'm going to bring in all of those small businesses that need to be seen, need to be heard, needs their story told more than just at one event on one Saturday every week. Because as small business owners, we can't be at every event or every farmer's market. It's too
Right.
hard. It's impossible. And I said, I could be that one extra place where 7 days a week someone could come in and hear their story, told um, to their customer.
Yeah. We were just talking shortly before we started recording here. I had no idea. I was looking at your Facebook page for Erin's Elderberries, and honestly, I think the posts that you post, I don't know, maybe you have a social media director now. Is that all
I
you?
do because I am horrible at social media. I told
The
you,
posts that
well,
you post are
doing
the
they're
vast
they're
majority are for other
fantastic. Yeah, she's
businesses.
great. Yes, she is great. And so Olivia is my social media director. She's been on with me for 2 years now, and she is fantastic because she very much understands what we're trying to do here, the message we're trying to send, what we're trying to do for not just our community, but globally if we can. And she has found a way to do that and still having my voice. Oftentimes you can tell with social media that someone else is doing it. And she just understands us and is so much a part of this Erin's Elderberries family that a lot of people don't know it's not me. They're like, wow, like knowing you and then seeing what's being written on Facebook or Instagram would have never known. And I tell people, I'm like, that's how you know in your business you have found the right people is because they know they do just that.
Right, exactly. And I mean, was she the first choice? Was she your first choice? Because that's amazing to find somebody like, I can't
Yeah.
stand.
And yeah, so no, I want to say, I don't want to say she wasn't my first choice. I had others, I had two others before her. I went with a company that had lots of people because I thought that's what I would need. And it ended up being a dumpster fire. And I had someone before them who was just kind of getting started in it. And I was kind of just getting started. So I didn't understand what I needed. But when because when you hire a company, you spend a lot of money every
Oh
month.
yeah.
And if you're not getting the results you need or kind of seeing that things aren't meshing well, you don't want to keep spending money. And I made it very kind of clear and to myself when I went to find Olivia that I will not accept anything less than what I want. And I ended up putting out a call on my email distribution list. Instead of me going out and like interviewing companies, I just, sent an email out to my customers that said, hey, we're looking for someone to help us spread our voice and our message. You know, if you know anyone, have a kid in college who's going to school for this type of thing, like have them reach out if they're interested. And what I did was have them submit 2 posts. I sent them my branding board and I said, I want to post on this product and here's some information. And then I want one completely just in what you think our voice looks like and, using our branding board. And she just nailed it.
Wow.
And I was like, please, when she comes in for an interview, please let me like her. Because, because it was one of those, like, I loved her work. I was like, no, please just let me like her to work with her in the office setting. It not be weird or kind of her
Sure.
personality doesn't vibe. But no, we love her and she's like a sister to me now. So yeah.
Nice. That's such a great story. So you've got this business and you're building it up. You've got employees. And at one point, you had the thought to give back,
Mm-hmm.
that you wanted to give something back to the community. Talk about that decision.
I almost don't want to say it was a decision. It was more of, I want to do this. Now, how do I do it? Because it took me a long time to figure it out. My business is about helping people. I keep my prices super low because I want people to have affordable access to quality ingredients and quality food. So that was kind of my initial way of stepping into this business to help people. Was I'm not going to put my prices where others are because I don't need that money. What I need to do is help people have access to it and to get it and to understand why these are quality ingredients. So that was kind of my first like toe into helping. And throughout, once Lucas was sick and you live on an oncology floor of a children's hospital for a week, you get very humble about the life that you're given and realize that your life isn't so bad no matter what's going on.
For sure.
So one of the things I started doing, and I still do, and I haven't yet figured out how to make it a formal kind of national program, is if I know of any child or any parent that is going through cancer treatment or leukemia treatment or anything like that, if they message us, if they email us, we will send them free elderberry. That idea was given to me by a customer when her son was 7. So basically what Lucas is now, and he was undergoing leukemia treatments for the second time. So
Oh,
they had beat it once, it had come back. And she said that her doctor was recommending that her little boy take elderberry because his immune system was kind of shot. It was flu season. And one of her friends had recommended me because they said, she's the kid-friendly elderberry. Make sure you get it. So once I heard her story, I said, nope, I'm not charging you. Just come and get it. Because at that point, I didn't have a retail store. I was still doing pickups off of my stoop on my front porch.
okay.
And, whenever, and I told her, so whenever you need it, or if any other moms that there at that hospital need it, you tell them to contact me. And it's kind of been a word of mouth. So sometimes we ship elderberry to California or to Montana, but around here we give it a lot locally because the moms talk. And I'm still trying to figure out how to make that like a real like program somehow with some hospitals. But that was kind of my first inkling of how do I figure out how to make things,
I could make a living
official.
and do good.
Yes, exactly. And the kind of why we're, talking today about the scholarship, I was like, I would love to help someone in our county, and then hopefully as this program expands nationally, be able to go to college. I was very lucky. I went on a full ride scholarship. I left college with no debt whatsoever.
Wow, that's
And
great.
that is very hard, especially nowadays. And I just, I, I don't even know how it came into my mind. I just thought, how else can I help people as they're getting older in our generations as they're growing up? We have the kids with the elderberry and their cancer treatments. Like, what else can we do that I can afford to do, right? Because you have these like grandiose visions, but in reality, what can I do? And so I thought about the scholarship. So I was googling like how to start a nonprofit, how to start a scholarship, and I was just like, I don't understand any of this, and it seems like it's going to take forever. So I kind of put it on the back burner because it seemed like it was going to take tens of thousands of dollars to even just get it going. And I thought to myself, okay, right now we can probably put that cash into our community in some other way that will do good until we can afford to then, start up our scholarship. But then I had a random meeting at one of my Rotary club lunches. So I'm a member of Rotary International. And I felt like I was very much supposed to be in that meeting that day. I was planning on not going. I was able to go. And a woman was speaking to us about a nonprofit that is a fund management. So they manage the fund for you. They create the scholarship program for you, or any kind of, charitable foundation that you would like to do. It is all put with them to manage. And then you basically get to say how, it's used. So you get to name your scholarship. It's basically, and the fees are super low. Like, yes, you pay a fee, but it's so much less than trying to do it, on your own.
Right.
The only thing that wasn't the same, I guess, if I did it completely on my own, was I don't get to choose the top finalists for my scholarship, but I do get to be as involved as I want to because of how, like, the IRS writes the laws and everything else. Like, I can't put this money into this fund and say, oh, but you have to give it to this person, because it, checks and balances kind of a thing. But
Sure.
What I am allowed to do is tell the board, hey, I want to see the top 5 and I want to make a recommendation. And oftentimes the board will go with that recommendation, especially if you tell them why, you feel this way and things like that. So, our first year for the scholarship was this year. So after that meeting, I went up to her and I said, I'm pretty sure that the universe has stuck me here today to talk to you. How do we make this happen? And this was back in January, I think, January or February. So she was assuming I was meaning, okay, next year in 2024,
Right.
I want to launch this. And I was like, no, like, kids are graduating, like soon. And she's like, well, the application's already open. And I said, but they're not closed. I said, and I told her, I said, listen, we have a big following. If you make this happen, I will get you applicants. Like, you do not, because she was worried about, are there going to be any applicants? Are we going to do all this work and then there's going to be no, applicants? I said, no, I will guarantee you applicants. I will do the work if you guys do the work. And, they did the work for us, got it, all ready to go. And we had a lot of applicants for it and one very special winner.
That's so cool. And as an added bonus, you got to give that winner the check.
Yes, I did. And I didn't realize that I would get to do that. I just assumed that the foundation that we put the money into would hand over the check. And they're like, no, it's your scholarship. If you want to do it, you absolutely get to. So that was a special moment, for me to see all of it come to fruition. It was great. I loved it.
And that is, because, and I researched this today, the average student who leaves college these days leaves with debt of $34,000 in college in student loans. That's crazy. And you're out there making life better for people, Erin. Yay.
Thank you. Cool. I try.
So many times we look at these things and we say, I really want to help out. And then it kind of fizzles. But I really admire the fact that you researched and you figured out how to do it. And you made somebody's college dreams a little bit easier. And I love that. I love that. I love your whole story, actually.
Thank you. And, talking about the fizzle, it definitely fizzled for me, because I started looking into it. I'm like, I'm not a big enough fish to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. And it did kind of fizzle. And, I went at the end of 2022 and I wrote down my goals for this year. And I said, I'm going to figure it out. It may not start, but figure it out was on my goal sheet. And I really just started running with it, at the beginning of the year. And just because something fizzles one time doesn't mean you can't be reignited with it. And, and that's why I tell people, even in their business, I'm like, just don't give up on something. It may not be the right time now, but if it's really important to you, if it's really important to the people you're trying to help, it will come back around at some point when it's right. And that just happened to be this year for us.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Guys, if you're listening, well, to both of you who are listening to this show, no, it's more than that, I'm sure. I'm going to have all of Erin's links. Facebook, the Elderberry business page. And you said okay. Squirrel.
It's fine. We do a lot of things here.
You
So
said something about global?
Yeah, so we do have two retailers, one in Italy and one in France, actually, and that happened during COVID. So we can say we're like international now. Woohoo! Uh, but we do have retailers nationwide. We supply a lot of like the mom and pop stores, which I love because we're supporting those, small businesses. It is my dream one day to like land in Whole Foods or Trader Joe's or, something like that where there's later access, because a lot of us mom and pops, we close at like 5 o'clock so we can be at home with our families. But kind of what grew my business was to be able to have that pickup cooler on the stoop, because I'd have people come by at 2 o'clock in the morning on their way home from urgent care or from the hospital or something like that. So that's kind of a goal this year and for next, is to try to find somehow how we can get this to people between the hours of 6 and 9, not just here in Virginia.
That's so cool. And bonus, you could probably write off a trip to Italy or France as a business expense. Go check them out.
Hadn't even considered that, but yes, we should do that.
That's a total business expense. I'm no IRS guru, but still. Erin Mann, you are one of the most kind people I have ever met, and I thank you so much for your time today. You're clearly busy.
I like to stay busy. You're never really
working. You made
working
time for me, and that's awesome.
No, I appreciate you so much. And what you said to me is, right back to you about being kind. I mean, you could do anything else with your time, but you're choosing to share awesome stories from awesome people. I'm gonna pretend I'm awesome for a minute. But I'm talking about all the other people you have interviewed and will interview in the future. But you're pretty darn kind and pretty awesome yourself.
Oh, stop. No, keep going. No, I'm kidding. We should probably wrap this up. I do appreciate your time, Erin. I appreciate everything you do, and I cannot wait to spread the word of Erin Mann and her kind business.
Thank you, Mike.
I hope you have a great rest of your week.
You too.
Okay, full disclosure here. I originally, when I met Erin, we talked about her giving back through the scholarship program, and that's fantastic, and that's very kind, and I really admire that. But I had no idea all of the things that Erin Mann does through her business, like giving elderberry syrup to cancer patients for free, supporting other local businesses in her area by giving them a spot in her brick and mortar shop. All of these things are just blow me away with kindness, and I think that's fantastic. I hope you enjoyed this episode, folks. I know I had so much fun making it. I appreciate you. Thank you for the kindness of your time listening in today. We will be back next week with another episode. And in the meantime, be that person who roots for others, who tells a stranger they look amazing, and encourages others to believe in themselves and their dreams. I'm Mike Rathman, and you have been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast.